Very soon, on October 31st, many of the English-speaking nations will be celebrating a very satanic, demonic, and evil holiday called Halloween. Children will be dressing up in costumes and going trick-or-treating, and adults will be having costume parties and Halloween parties. But is this celebration biblical or Christian? Let's talk about the strange customs of Halloween. Please join me. The Plain and Simple Truth Ministries presents The Messenger of the Lord with Apostle Yeshua, preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ. And now, Apostle Yeshua.
And greetings, friends and brethren. Why the strange customs of Halloween? It's time you understand. Every 31st of October, people and children dress up in costumes and go around knocking on doors, asking for trick or treat, in order to get some candy and sweets. But what is wrong with this strange custom or tradition, and how on earth did it originate? Well, tonight I'll take the cat out of the bag and we'll fill you in on the plain, simple truth and the full details of how we came into practicing such a hellish tradition and into observing such an evil day. You will be shocked, astonished, surprised, dumbfounded, and frankly, my friends and brethren, amazed and hopefully filled with horror to find that this Halloween thing is not as innocent as it seems. So I'm going to read you from an article that I found on the Ambassador College Library from Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong, with the title, Why the Strange Customs of Halloween? Where did Halloween come from? Should it be observed? Few realize just how enlightened 21st century men came to observe such a superstitious custom. Halloween is the strangest holiday of the entire year. On the eve of November 1st, children dress as goblins or witches and knock on doors, yelling trick or treat. Some soak windows of schools and stores, while others actually tear down mailboxes, steal objects left unguarded in a person's yard, and give the police a great many headaches with their juvenile vandalism. To perpetuate this spirit of Halloween with its frolicking fun, stores are filled with black and orange masks, pumpkins, and other gaudy decorations that attract the eye. Even some older people enjoy Halloween's decorations, games, and frivolity. In this enlightened age, with ignorance and superstition supposedly vanished, nations are still celebrating the old holiday with its goblins, the fear of black cats, and children masked as demons and witches. In schools, children participate in Halloween parties, anticipating a hectic night of fun and foolishness. So let's talk about the strange origin of a strange holiday. Is this the way in which children should be brought up? Why is this holiday celebrated anyway? Where did the custom of trick-or-treat originate? It is time that people who think themselves intelligent began to look into the origin of this spirit of frivolity and understand how it entered a supposedly Christian society. How did we get Halloween? It certainly isn't Christian in origin. In fact, Halloween and many of the embellishments surrounding this strange festival are of superstitious and pagan origin. The American celebration can be traced back to Celtic folk customs, which in turn originated in pre-Christian times. The earliest Halloween celebrations were held by the Druids in Britain in honor of Samhain, Lord of the Dead, whose festival fell on November 1st. On this night, it was believed that Samhain called together the wicked souls that had within the preceding 12 months been condemned to inhabit the bodies of animals. So, this is about spirits casting evil spells. It was a pagan belief that on one night of the year the souls of the dead returned to their original homes to be entertained with food. If food and shelter were not provided, these spirits were believed to cast spells on those failing to fulfill their request. It was the original trick or treat, a time when wicked spirits visited their earthly homes. It was a night of the universal walking about of all sorts of spirits, fairies and ghosts, all of whom had liberty on that night. Alexander MacGregor tells us in his Highland Superstitions, and the liberty was often of a destructive nature, so the belief went. But why was November 1st chosen for this annual spirit get-together? The Celts and other northern people consider November 1 as their new year. This was the time when the leaves were falling and a general seasonal decay was taking place. It seemed a fitting time for the commemoration of the dead. Since the northern nations at that time began their day in the evening, the eve leading up to November 1st was the beginning of the festival. According to the Roman calendar, in which days began at midnight, it was the evening of October 31st. And the meaning of Halloween, what does it mean? It is a contraction of All Hallow Evening, later to be known as All Saints' Day. Halloween was kept in one form or another throughout the pagan world. There was a prevailing belief among all nations that at death the souls of good men were taken possession of by good spirits and carried to paradise, but the souls of wicked men were left to wander in the space between the earth and moon, or consigned to the unseen world. These wandering spirits were in the habit of haunting the living, but there were means by which these ghosts might be exorcised, according to Folklore, James Napier, page 11. So what is this exorcising of ghosts? By the way, ghosts are nothing else but demons. To exorcise the spirits, that is, to free yourself from the supposed evil sway, you would have to set out food, give the demons a treat, and provide shelter for them during the night. If they were satisfied with your offerings, they would leave you in peace. If provoked, they would trick you by casting an evil spell on you. Leaving food about didn't always satisfy the spirit world. Sometimes more drastic measures needed to be employed to escape the wrath-starting bonfire. Uninvited spirits, fairies, and ghosts were believed to wander around the area and could only be dispersed by bonfires or burning churches. John Brand, in his Popular Antiquities of Great Britain, written in 1849, mentions that during his lifetime there was a custom in North Wales on the eve of November 1 of making a great fire called cold, when every family for about 1 hour in the night made a great bonfire in the most conspicuous place near the house. Sinclair's Statistics of Scotland for 1793 shows that in Perthshire, on the eve of November 1st, bonfires were lit in every village. In Ireland, the custom of displaying lighted candles in the windows of the house on this night was common practice as late as the 19th century. This then is the way the Western world celebrated their Halloween, their All Saints' Day, although some aspects of the Halloween festival varied with each country. The overall pattern and purpose remained the same. But how did the professing Christian world come to accept and observe such a day as Halloween? Let's understand how Halloween becomes Christianized. When Charlemagne invaded and conquered Saxon Germany early in the 19th century, he compelled the conquered German king, Widukind, to be baptized and to accept Christianity. Widukind's Germans, now professing Christians, and other conquered people soon began to exert a profound influence on the ecclesiastical affairs of the church. These conquered people brought with them outright pagan practices and celebrations, Halloween being one of them. They were fervent in clinging to their past ceremonies and observed them openly, though they were supposedly converted to Christianity. What was the church to do? Excommunicate them and thus reduce its membership? This it would not do. Should it force them into discarding their heathen practices and adopting Roman ones? This, as the church had learned in past times, was impossible. There remained only one other way. Let the recently converted pagans keep certain of their heathen festivals, but call them Christian. Halloween was one of these festivals. Of course, the masses were asked not to pray to their ancient pagan gods on this day. They were told to use this day to commemorate the death of saints. Originally, the Catholic All Saints' Day was observed in May, and only later, in AD 834, was it transferred to the beginning of November, since the northern nations were already observing their Halloween in November. The Bible reveals a purposeful way of life for both now and the future. Man's ultimate destiny and the way to prepare for that destiny has absolutely no room for superstitious festivals that are embellished by heathen practices and concepts. Many other pagan festivals were Christianized in a similar way. Notice just such an admission, and I quote, "Thus, at the first promulgation of Christianity to the Gentile nations, they could not be persuaded to relinquish many other superstitions, which rather than for ego altogether they chose to blend and incorporate with a new faith." According to Popular Antiquities, John Brand, page 11. So let's talk about Halloween today. Now come down to the 21st century. You might be surprised to what extent our civilized world has inherited outright pagan rites and ceremonies from our forefathers, so obvious in the celebration of Halloween. What about you and your children? What comes to your mind when thinking about Halloween? You probably picture weird and frightening masks, persons portrayed as witches and demons, and pumpkins and turnips hollowed out in the shape of eerie-looking faces with lighted candles placed inside to help bring out the more frightful side of this carving. The Good Housekeeping Book of Entertainment, page 168, has a section on what to do on Halloween. Notice the advice given, and I quote, "Orange, black, and red, the devil's colors, are the colors associated with Halloween, and this scheme should be carried out as far as possible. Have paper streamers and lanterns hanging from the ceiling, or if you would like to have something less usual, you could make a giant spider's web with black and orange strings, or in narrow strips of crepe paper coming from the four corners of the room, complete with a large spider, one of the devil's favorite followers." Notice further the aspects of black magic associated with this festival. To decorate the walls, make large silhouettes of cats, bats, owls, and witches and broomsticks. For the supper table, small witches with broomsticks can be made by using lollipops and 4-inch sticks. So let's talk about the origin of our ideas. Halloween and other common festivals which people observe in the Christian professing world have no biblical basis and often originated in rank paganism. You ought to sit down and ask yourself how many other formerly pagan ceremonies have received a Christian dressing and ecclesiastical sanction. It's time we question the origin of the practices we follow and the beliefs we adhere to. As for Halloween, the testimony of history stamps it as a heathen festival. Of course, right here many people might say, well, what difference does it make? We don't worship spirits. It's all harmless fun for the kids. The Bible reveals a purposeful way of life now and in the future. Man's ultimate destiny and the way to prepare for that destiny has no room for superstitious festivals embellished by heathen practices and concepts. As professing Christians, we should opt for the true religion and not be sidetracked by superstitious and meaningless practices. True Christianity must always have its basis in the divinely inspired Word of God. The spiritual concepts and religious practices of Jesus Christ, so often ignored and often wholly discarded, must not be minimized if we are to lead a meaningful and rewarding life.
Why the strange customs of Halloween? Where did this evil holiday got started? How was it introduced into Christianity? And what are its origins? You need to find out. It's a day of pure evil, and you need to get the truth. Get your booklet, The Truth About Halloween, at www.blowthetrumpet.org. Again, that's The Truth About Halloween. Get your copy today.
So, my friends and brethren, it is important that we understand that there is no room for this thing of Halloween in our lives. It definitely is not. We have to find what is the truth that God wants us to live. How are we going to please God? Are we going to follow the customs and traditions of this world? Or are we simply going to obey God? You know, this is something that you need to understand. I want you to keep in mind that, you know, this thing of Halloween is really evil. It is the day of the devil. You know, Halloween is the strangest holiday of the entire year. And on the eve of November 1st, children in many lands dress as goblins and, you know, have different kinds of things and knock on doors. And they go out trick-or-treating. But, you know, this is not what God wants us to do. The strange honoring of a strange holiday is important to understand. You know, we need to understand that this holiday is pagan to the core. You know, do you know that Halloween was introduced into the professing Christian world centuries after the death of the apostles? Yet it was celebrated by the pagan centuries the church was founded. Here's the intriguing answer from history. The American celebration rests upon Scottish and Irish folk customs, which can be traced in direct line from paganism. Although Halloween has become a superstitious spells and eerie games which people take only half seriously, its beginnings were quite otherwise. The earliest Halloween celebrations were held not by early church, but by the Druids in honor of Samhain, Lord of the Dead, whose festival fell on November 1st. This is taken from Halloween through 20 centuries by Ralph Linton, page 4. Further, it was a Druidic belief that on the eve of this festival, Samhain, Lord of the Dead, called together the wicked souls or spirits that within the past 12 months have been condemned to inhabit the bodies of animals. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, 11th edition, verse 12, pages 67 to 858. So it's talking about when the spirits walked about. Read what this November celebration was like. It was a pagan belief that on one night of the year, the souls of the dead returned to their original homes, there to be entertained with food. If food and shelter were not provided, these spirits, it was believed, would cast spells and cause havoc toward those failing to fulfill their request. It was spiritual trick or treat, and the trick was not especially cute. It was a night for the universal walking about all sorts of spirits, fairies and ghosts and demons, all of whom had liberty of that night, according to Highland Superstitions, Alexander McGregor, page 44. Later, no sacrifices were offered on this night to the spirits of the dead, when, so the belief went, they visited their earthly homes and their friends. There was a reason why November was chosen for that particular event. The Celts and other northern people consider the beginning of November as their new year. And I told you that already. So you see, another thing that I want you to understand is this. Why do we get all these customs in Halloween? In Wales, it was firmly believed that on All Hallows Eve, the spirit of a departed person was to be seen at midnight and every crossroad and every style, according to folklore and folk stories of Wales. Mary Trevelyan, page 254. This sort of Halloween festival was strenuously observed throughout the ancient world. Pagans would pray to their false gods to prevent demons and witches from molesting them. In Cambodia, people used to chant, "Oh, our ancestors who are departed, deign to come and eat what we have prepared for you, and to bless your posterity to make it happy." Notice Sur le Cambodge et Ammonier, page 59. And many Asiatics do this. You know, that they bring food to the cemetery, you know, for the departed loved ones. In the New World, too, the customs found in the mystics of Mexico believed that the souls of the dead came back in the 12th month of the year, which corresponded to our November. On this day of All Souls, the houses were decked out to welcome the spirits. Yards of food and drink were set on a table in the principal room, and the family went out with the torches to meet the ghosts and invite them to enter. Then, returning to the house, they knelt around the table and with their eyes bent on the ground, prayed the souls to accept the offerings. You know, they call it El Día de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. And they even worship death. That's how crazy this nation is. This then is a way the heathen would celebrate their Halloween, their All Souls Day. Although some aspects of the Halloween festival vary with each country, the overall pattern and purpose remain the same. It is a satanic festival. It is wicked. It is evil. Trust me, my friend. But how did the professing Christian world come to upset and keep such a day? Here's how. For numerous years prior to the 6th century, Rome was invaded and ruled by barbaric tribes from the north. But in 607 AD, the Roman Emperor Phocas defeated the barbarians. The Roman Pantheon, a pagan edifice which had been wrestled from the barbarians, was given to Pope Boniface IV. Emperor Hadrian rebuilt the Pantheon around 100 AD. He dedicated it to the pagan goddess Cybele and to the other Roman deities. This temple then became the central place in Rome where the pagans honored and commemorated the gods. With this splendid edifice now falling into the hands of the professing Christians, the question was, what should be done with it? After several ideas were put forward, this is what was finally decided. Whereas the pagan dedication had been to Cybele and all the gods, the Roman bishop now consecrated it to the Virgin Mary and all the saints of both sexes. See the Mysteries of All Nations, Grant, page 120. Thus, this pagan building became a holy structure. No more did the pagans use this edifice to pray for their dead. It was now the Christ-professing Romans who employed the Pantheon in praying for their dead. This rededication of the pagan temple to Mary and others occurred in 610 AD. Now converted into a Christian shrine, an annual festival was instituted to commemorate the event. The day chosen was May 13th. The Christian professing populace now paid homage to the consecrated Pantheon and to those for whom it was dedicated. The masses were encouraged to pray to Mary and the other saints. This day became known as All Saints' Day, a day on which prayers were offered to the souls of saints who had died. The more prayers were offered, the less they would suffer the interim time in purgatory. Later, even money was solicited for expiation purposes, thus curtailing the saints' suffering. This commemoration of the dead saints, going by the name of All Saints' Day, continued to be held in May within the empire until 854 AD. At this time, the name and date were changed. The time of celebration was altered to the 1st of November, and it was then called All Hallow, from where we get the name Halloween. All Hallow merely meaning All Holy, and the "een" is a contraction of evening, according to folklore, page 177. Thus, in 834 AD, the church at large kept Halloween on the 1st of November for the first time. And yet this was the very same day the Druids in Britain, the Norsemen in Scandinavia, and the pagan Germans, among others, were keeping their festival of All Souls' Eve in commemoration of Saman, Lord of Death, and his demons. So let's talk about the reason for change. Why did the Roman Church change the day to November 1st, thus coinciding with the pagan's feast of All Souls? Here's the reason. It was a general practice of the Christianized Roman Empire and the Church of Rome to convert the pagans within the empire as quickly and as large a scale as possible. Ever since the time of Constantine, who made Catholicism the state religion, the Roman emperors realized how essential it was to have a unified empire, where as many as possible would be of one mind. The civil and religious leaders saw how important it was for the sake of unity to allow only one religion within the Roman domain. It became therefore a stringent state policy to force all non-Christians to accept the Orthodox faith. The condition for conversion, of course, made it very easy for the pagan population of Rome and elsewhere to accept Christianity. If acceptance of Christianity was made simple, refusal was made difficult. This plan of action led vast numbers of the heathen population within the empire to flock into the fold of the church. So let's talk about the conversion of the Germans. When the German Frankish king Charlemagne invaded and conquered parts of eastern Germany, he compelled the conquered German Saxon king Wittgenstein to be baptized and to accept Christianity. Wittgenstein's Germans, now professing Christians and other conquered peoples, had a profound influence on the ecclesiastical affairs of the church in the early 1800s AD. These uncultured people brought with them many outright pagan practices and celebrations, Halloween merely being one of them. They were fervent in clinging to their past ceremonies and observed them openly, yet supposedly converted to Christianity. What was the church to do? Excommunicate them and thus reduce her membership? This she would not do. Was she to force them into discarding their heathen practices and adopt Italian or Roman ones? This, as she had learned in past time, was not possible. There remained only one other way. Let the recently converted pagans keep certain of their heathen festivals, such as Halloween or All Souls Day, but label it Christian. Of course, the Germans were asked not to pray to their ancient pagan gods on this day. They must now use this day to commemorate the death of saints. If a pagan practice or festival could not be forbidden, it was reason, let it be tamed. Thus, many were persuaded to transfer devotion from their former gods to the Christian God. So it was with the festival of All Souls Eve. Notice, and I quote, thus at the first promulgation of Christianity to the Gentile nations, they could not be persuaded to relinquish many of their superstitions, which rather than forego altogether they chose to blend and incorporate with a new faith. Popular Antiquities of Great Britain, John Brand, page 11. And what about in our day? Now come down to the 21st century. What about you and your children? What comes to your mind when thinking about Halloween? Again, I ask. Weird and frightening masks, persons portrayed as witches and demons, pumpkins and turnips, hollowed out in the shape of eerie-looking faces, lighted candles are placed inside to help bring out the more frightful side of these carvings. Though it's baked into small figurines resembling witches and spiders, webcakes are baked by the dozen for this occasion. Children dressed up in revolting costumes are let loose on the neighbors. So you know, it is madness. It is completely demonic, satanic. There's no biblical basis. Halloween and other common festivals which people observe in the Christian professing world have no biblical basis. Nowhere does the Bible, which should be the foundation of our beliefs, command us to pray to anyone except God the Father and His Son, or to make intercession for the dead. Praying for the dead is not biblical. Read Psalms 49 verse 7 and you will see. None of God's people in the Old or New Testament has ever prayed for so-called departed souls. There is a reason for this. Man just does not have an immortal soul. Nowhere does the Bible speak of a person having an immortal soul. In other words, there's no such thing mentioned in God's divine word as souls leaving the body at death. This erroneous idea also stems from paganism. The Bible does speak, however, of a soul. But by the word soul, it merely means a person, a human being, a living being. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. Ezekiel 18 verse 20 says, if a man had an immortal soul, he could not possibly die. All this is explained fully in your Bible, if you really know where to look at. Halloween and several other annual festivals people observe in the Christian professing world have no biblical basis. but rather originated in paganism. The testimony of history stamps Halloween as a festival with a pagan foundation, and the Bible warns, for other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Jesus Christ. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 11. Of course, right here many people might say, well, what difference does it make, even if it is pagan? We don't worship any demons. It's all harmless fun for the kiddies. Yet it is a religious holiday, and religion is the obedient service, adoration rendered to the object of one's worship. It presupposes profession, practice, or observance of whatever belief and practice. In this case, Halloween, as required by some superior authority. Since this holiday is called Christian, one assumes that the authority cited will be the superior authority of the Christian faith, Jesus Christ. The shocking point, however, is that nowhere can you find he commands sections or alludes to this holiday in the Bible. It is time we discover the source of our religious beliefs and find out whether we ought to observe them, to understand where our religious, political, social ideas have come from, and whether we ought to follow them, to really read your Bible and blow the dust of it. My friends and brethren, it's about time you wake up. You know, in Great Britain, they call it Guy Fawkes Day. It's celebrated annually on November 5th. This holiday has its origins in religious conflict involving the banishment of Roman Catholic priests from England. In protest, several laymen plotted to blow up the Houses of Parliament at the time when King James I was to open the new session. Nearly 40 barrels of gunpowder were prepared and secreted in a cellar underneath the Houses of Parliament. Authorities discovered their intentions, and the conspirators were legally executed in 1606. Guy Fawkes, an apparent ringleader, have been chosen to set off ill-fated explosion. This whole episode is commonly known as the Gunpowder Plot. Guy Fawkes Day in England is also reminiscent of the Halloween celebration worldwide. Marguerite Ickes tells us that Guy Fawkes Day has many customs in common with the Halloween celebration in the United States, according to the Book of Festivals and Holidays World Over, page 120. Young people in England observe this holiday somewhat like their American counterparts observe Halloween. The Book of Days sheds some light on the subject. And I quote, English juveniles still regard the 5th of November as one of the most joyous days of the year. The universal mode of observance through all parts of England is the dressing up of a scarecrow figure in such cast habiliments as can be procured, the headpiece generally a paper cap painted and knotted with paper strips in imitation of ribbons, parading it in a chair through the streets, and at nightfall burning it with great solemnity in a huge bonfire. The procession visits the different houses in the neighborhood. One invariable custom is always maintained on this occasion, that of soliciting money from the passerby in the formula. Pray remember Guy, please to remember Guy, or please to remember the bonfire. The common expression now is penny for the guy, 549 to 550. In times past, Guy Fawkes Day was celebrated by many of the adult generation. In the old days, the festival was celebrated heartily with bonfires and parades of masqueraders who carried aloft popes or guys of straw, according to Dorothy Gladys Spicer in the Book of Festivals, page 14. But as Margaret Ickes explains, today Guy Fawkes Day is mainly a holiday for children who observe it by dressing up in funny costumes, having parades, lighting firecrackers, and making straw dummies of Guy Fawkes, according to the Book of Festivals and Holidays World Over, page 120. Like Halloween, Guy Fawkes Day has its religious overtones. The Book of Days informs us till 1859, a special service for the 5th of November formed part of the ritual of the English Book of Common Prayer. But by special ordinance of the Queen in Council, this service has been abolished, page 549. Guy Fawkes Day, like Halloween and many other days observed the world over, has no biblical basis as a religious holiday. So, again, my friends and brethren, you need to use common sense. The bottom line remains is that this festival of Halloween and the strange customs related to it are pagan and are evil, demonic in nature. And it's about time we wake up. So until next time, this is Apostle Yeshua saying goodbye and good night, friends.
You have heard the messenger of the Lord with Apostle
Yeshua. For more information on this program or the Plain and Simple Truth Ministries, you may email us at Yeshua, Apostle of the Lord, at AOL.com.
This has been a Plain and Simple Truth Ministries presentation.